hello, good evening, and welcome. I'm Julia Stasch, Vice President at the MacArthur Foundation. And in partnership with Mark Niker at the Pearson Foundation, we are really pleased to bring you this evening. Now we have a full agenda for you tonight. Let me take us back a little bit. 4 years ago, the MacArthur Foundation came to New York to launch what started out as a $50 million initiative in digital media and learning. And that means that it takes its place amongst the most important things that the MacArthur Foundation is trying to do in this society and in the world. As you saw in that wonderful video, lots of thought-provoking ideas, lots of nuance, and you'll hear more about that this evening. But what you saw most of all was the notion of reimagining learning. And what we mean by reimagining learning is that this begins first and foremost by focusing on how young people participate with digital media. Reimagining learning forces us to blur the boundary. Reimagining learning makes it possible for young people to learn anytime, anywhere, and it really completely reconceives what a school is and what a school does in the digital age. I think you will enjoy the evening ahead. Before we begin, I want to thank just a couple of people, individuals and organizations that are making this evening possible. First, Keith Kruger and the Consortium for School Networking. Then Sven Travis, Dean of the School of Art, Media, and Technology at Parsons Design and Technology Program. And last, I'd both like to thank and introduce Bob Kerrey and the New School for hosting us this evening. Bob Kerrey continues to be that person recognizing that democratic life flourishes most when all citizens are educated and have every chance to participate in the political process. As president of the New School, Bob Kerrey has implemented a powerful strategy for change and development that marries the university's historic academic mission and the needs of the 21st century. So with that, let me turn it over to you, President Kerrey.
I've just got actually 4 or 5 thank yous and one introduction. And I want to thank both the MacArthur Foundation and the Pearson Foundation and all the sponsors for this event. I want to thank all the team at the New School, particularly the team at Parsons, Joel Towers, Sven Travis, Katie Salin, and many, many other people who have really taken an interest in trying to answer the question, how can we use these technologies to improve the quality of learning? I had occasion earlier this year to visit Katie's school, Quest to Learn here in New York City. It's started actually because of Bob Hughes and the New Vision schools, and was enabled because of our school chancellor's vision and courage, because this is a part of the New York public school system. And I expected to see, I visited on a Friday afternoon, a room full of gamers. And what I found was quite different. First of all, I found rooms full of students who were paying attention on a quite nice Friday afternoon. What I found was students who were using the language of games, Quest in particular, to organize their learning. And as Katie described in the presentation, and this is also funded both by the Gates Foundation and MacArthur Foundation, that there are times when the technology is the appropriate way to learn, and there are times when it's not. And the challenge is to help teachers know when the moment arrives when technology works and when it doesn't work. And it's a significant challenge. So as with so many things, these efforts are dependent on individuals. The best idea in the world can flounder if you got the wrong person running it. And oftentimes the worst idea in the world can end up looking pretty good if you get the right person in charge. That can be a problem in and of itself. And we are fortunate with Katie and the others at Parsons who have really put an effort into this. And I want to, again, I'll thank the MacArthur Foundation, the Gates Foundation, and the man I'm about to introduce, Joel Klein, for both the courage and the vision. This is a difficult time to run a public school system, to put it mildly. The expectations are high and the resources are diminishing. Other than that, he's got a best job in the city. In introducing Joel, I have to confess, and I was in the Senate for 12 years, and among the challenges you have in democracy is coming to terms with the votes that you've cast. And sometimes you feel quite good about it, and sometimes you don't feel so good about it. Well, Joel was nominated for Antitrust Division at the Department of Justice. I voted against him. And in spite of that, he and I become very, very good friends. He did a great job, by the way, at Antitrust at Justice. For whatever the reason, when our extraordinary mayor, Mike Bloomberg, was looking for a commissioner of education, he asked Joel, and for whatever the reason, Joel said yes. He's from New York, he knows the schools well, he's passionate about education, and he's willing to make change happen, even when at times that change can provoke opposition. We're very fortunate to have him as our commissioner here of education in the city of New York. We're very fortunate to have his diligence and his commitment, the time that he's put on task, and I'm very fortunate to be able to say now, please welcome to this podium our Commissioner of Education, Joel Klein.
So first of all, let me add my thanks. I want to thank MacArthur and Pearson for bringing us together tonight on what is such a critical issue. I want to thank my friend Diana Roten, who, not just for what she's doing with New Youth City and Startle, but for really pushing me and challenging me constantly in this area, and I really appreciate that. Let me also say just at the outset, to me, the thought of an evening to reimagine learning in the 21st century, this is so long overdue in so many ways. You know, it's become kind of on the circuit a joke of a sort, but it's not very funny, and that is to say, you know, we built an education system basically for an agrarian economy, and we're not only no longer an agrarian economy, we're like several iterations past an agrarian economy, but in any field but education, if you had fallen asleep 100 years ago and awakened today, you wouldn't recognize it. The times, the structures, the use of technology would be very different. And yet in education, where are we, right? So our kids go to school from 9 to 3, basically throughout the United States, give or take, right? We argue about one teacher and how many kids, but we view this thing as one teacher in a classroom trying to teach 28 kids who move at different paces, and the teachers, all she's got to do is figure out how to move all 28 forward simultaneously. So it's long past due, whether you call it Clay Christensen's disrupting class or the new and different models, it's long past due. The problem is we're so resistant to change in public education. You know, we just are in a rut, and yet the times are going to demand that we get out of our rut. I mean, there's no reason why 9 to 3 should be a school day. There's no reason why kind of things that Diana and others are doing can't extend the school day. There's no reason that everything happens has to be in front of a teacher. That's not to diminish the importance, that's actually to enhance the importance and realize that teachers are our most precious commodity. We've got to use them wisely and intelligently and not stuck to a model that's not empowered by what the internet and what learning platforms and blended models and all the other things that can be done to enhance the way teachers and teaching and learning takes place. So to me, this discussion is not only critical, but it comes even though it's long overdue, it comes at an inflection point. I am convinced that this is going to happen. Indeed, I'm so convinced through it, those of you who know me like Bob know that somehow controversy is something I enjoy. It's a weird kind of thing. But so I went to the AAP and I told them that in 5 years, that they ought to start now to figure out online learning strategies and do it effectively and not worry about cannibalizing their textbook business, because in 5 years from now, their textbook business was going to be gone as far as I was concerned. And so sending that message and then analogizing to exactly what happened to me when I was at Bertelsmann, where we had a substantial investment in Napster, but because we owned a music company, were unable to really migrate Napster to an effective means of transmitting music, because people like to sell 16 song CDs for somewhere in the neighborhood of $15.95. And even though you could see this like a beautiful piece of porcelain falling off the table, people resisted it because they were worried about quarterly and annual profits, not about a long-term model. That's going to happen in our field. And I'm proud to say, for a whole host of reasons, because of people like Diana and Katie Salen and others you'll hear from tonight. It's happening here in New York City. We're in the early stages, but we are far ahead of where other people are going. My CIO, Ted Brodheim, is here. He deserves a lot of credit for this. But, you know, we did Quest to Learn. We did the iSchool. We worked together with Matt Goldstein and did something that was long overdue. We integrated, instead of having 9 to 12 and then 2-year community colleges, we now have a 9 to 14 college that we opened up at City Polytech. That's now become an innovation center partnering with Pearson's. So we've got a lot of things that were going, and we decided to consolidate and bring it together in what we call an innovation or iZone. And I'm proud to say, although you're going to hear from the federal government tonight and their chief technology people, we called it the iZone before they came up with the I3 award. The damn least they can do is make sure they grant our I3 application, because they stole our name and put a 3 after it. But now we're really trying to integrate toward an end an innovation zone and make innovation just like it is in so many other aspects of our lives. Because if you think about it this way, number one, nobody thinks we are where we need to be in K-12 education in America. Just if it were static, so many of our kids are not getting what they need. Today in America, 7 out of 10 kids graduate high school, which is already a failure. And out of the 7 who graduate, half of them are not prepared for college, and so they fundamentally go to community college, in some instances drop out, or underprepared for the workforce and pay a price for it. So if you just took a snapshot, you'd see we weren't where we need to go. Now, in fact, we're getting core common standards. You saw in this brief video the skills demanded in the 21st century, not just the work skills, but the democracy and participatory skills and the social networking and all of that are going to be different and more demanding. What's going on in India and China, say nothing of other parts of the world, the pressures that our kids are going to have to face in that global environment. All of that's going to demand much more of us. So why wouldn't we have all hands on deck? Bring innovation, bring new and different ideas, and don't be afraid of risk or failure. I guarantee you one thing, if you do this, some of these things won't work. And one sure way to make sure nothing happens is to do nothing. But if you're willing to really create an environment so that people like Katie can come here and knock the leather off the ball so that others can learn from her and her work, not just in New York, but throughout the nation. And to now develop this thing into a zone looking toward an end state that's transformative, where last year we piloted the School of One, and it won one of Time Magazine's 100 best inventions. No educational innovation had won one of these Time Magazine things. And here we've got, next year we're going to try 3 platforms, adaptive learning platforms, 1 from Israel, 2 in the United States, 1 by Pearson, 1 by Compass Learning, double-blind study, see which ones work best. They have different strengths, different concerns that each one raises, but really drive that. Bring online learning. Now, I give you my favorite example about how hard it is to change public education. So we have a rule in New York State, it's called seat time. In order to get credit, you're smiling, Chris, but in order to get credit, you have to have a teacher. So I have a lot of kids in small schools, and maybe 2 or 3 of them want to take an advanced placement course in physics or math or foreign language or whatever. So every year I trek up to Albany, and I'd say, see, I got 3 kids, and I can't give them a teacher, it just doesn't work. But they can go online or, you know, get a tutor, and they can take the AP class, and if they get a 3 or 4 or 5, they're going to get college credit. So it must follow that they're entitled to high school credit, right? Seemed logical, thought through like a lawyer's mind, that's why Chris is smiling. But, you know, and I do this every year. They say, no, but that's not the way it works. And I said, I know it's not the way it works. That's why I took the train up here to talk to you about it. I said, because that's the way it should work. And they said, no, we don't do it that way. I said, why not? I said, well, you need to have a teacher to get credit. And I said, what do you mean you need to have a teacher? I said, well, how about the idea that if you pass this, you get college credit? A fortiori, you should be getting high school credit. Well, finally now, I think we're going to be able to make that move, pilot some credit recovery courses, look at the way we use time. We have a school model that we're going to expand called Generation Schools, which is really taking us from a 180-day to a 200-day school, much more shared responsibility for the kids. And we are going to make, I said this at one time about charter schools, and I said, New York City will become the Silicon Valley for charter schools. We've succeeded at that. Now I want New York City to become the Silicon Valley when it comes to innovation and instructional delivery. And so I'm going to get off here and let you listen to the experts. But it's not something we can do from inside the school system alone. We can facilitate it. But those of you who are out there who've got great ideas, do what Katie did and come to us with a proposal for a new school, a transformative school, a school that you really imagined, designed, and think can change the world. And when that kind of infectiousness and innovation starts to permeate the system, two things are going to happen. I think we're going to get much better results for our kids over time, but equally important, people are going to be excited about reimagining what learning is all about. And if we're excited, our kids will be more excited. And if they're more excited, they'll be more engaged. And if they're more engaged, trust me, we're going to get much, much more out of them. We don't have to have the results we have in public education today. In a way, we choose those results. And it's up to us as leaders, as a community, to come together and transform those results. Again, thanks for the opportunity to be here tonight. You're in for a treat.